Today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/super. That's betterhelp.com/super. Who would win the Triwizard Tournament if Harry wasn't in it? Hey, brother! You know the real tragedy of the Triwizard Tournament? No, the tragedy is that we don't get to see a real competition. Hagrid tells us right away, before we've even made it to the school, the following information. Gringotts, no place safer.
Except perhaps Hogwarts.
And yet, Harry's first year back, the Dark Lord reappears, lives on the back of his Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher's head, tries to kill him via broomstick in front of the entire school.
What's going on with Harry's broomstick?
Then, three-headed dog, demon plant, demon keys, demon chess, puzzle, Dark Lord, mirror. Alas, earwax. Then we get to year 2, Slytherin's there, unleashes a 1,000-year-old monster snake that wreaks havoc on the school, mass instability, Ginny almost dies, Harry gets stabbed by a deadly basilisk fang, but lives. Then his godfather escapes from prison, he's believed to be hunting Harry, he breaks into his dorm room, Ron's pet rat turns into a jerkface, and his teacher's a werewolf. Good times. So let's just say, for funsies, that year 4 is just year 4. Like, I don't know, maybe Wormtail trips and falls during his escape, and the Whomping Willow blasts him in next week, and Voldemort isn't yet discovered or something. We can all look at that'd be great, right? Or maybe he just runs into a mousetrap, not as the rat or anything, just still in human form. Because I don't know if you've ever been snapped by one of those things, but sucks to suck, Peter. Do you think if he saw the Muggle board game Mousetrap that he would have a traumatic response?
We're going in for the big cheese, so don't get caught. Mousetrap! It's a zany action, a crazy contraption. The fun is catching its Mousetrap.
I've never met a single person who's actually played Mousetrap. They just got the board out and then assembled the thing and then made the chain reaction happen. That's what you do with it, right?
The fun is catching its Mousetrap.
Anyway, what this really means is that when Mad-Eye Moody shows up to Hogwarts, it's the real Mad-Eye Moody. And the Triwizard Tournament goes off without a hitch. So amongst our candidates, who I would believe to be exactly the same, because there's no reason for that to change, we have to decide who would have won. Viktor Krum, Fleur Delacour, or Cedric my boy Diggory? Leave your guesses in the comments now, because today we find out. Hey, brother! Yo, we need to pause right there to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Shopify. I think the term entrepreneur gets thrown around a lot for what might actually just be a regular person with a nearly concerning amount of optimism. On the one hand, I've got stability, but on the other, I could talk on a camera with my brother every weekday for an entire year. Who's in? Ben, I know you're in, right? Right? Hopefully. And fully was hoped. The thing is, though, it worked, and the reality is that even really good ideas can seem ludicrous up until the moment they've been proven. And getting over that hurdle and then everything that comes after that hurdle is made so much easier thanks to Shopify, because Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Carlin Brothers Mercantile, Heinz, or Mattel, to brands just getting started. So if you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/SCB. Go to shopify.com/SCB. That's shopify.com/SCB. Okay, so just to establish a performance baseline, here's how the standings look after the first task when Harry is there. First place is Viktor Krum with 40, then Cedric has 38, and Fleur is in third place with an undisclosed amount of points. And right away, the first task is fascinating to explore because Barty Crouch Jr.'s role in the tournament shows up almost immediately. Who nudged Hagrid into showing you the dragons? I did. Now, this is vital for a couple of reasons, because obviously, if Harry isn't competing and no one is pulling the strings, then Hagrid never has any real reason to clue anyone in on the dragons. Or at least not clue Harry in, because we know that Hagrid also takes a quick liking to Madame Maxime and may still show them to her. And we know that on Harry's usual return trip to the castle after seeing the
Dragons!
that he runs into someone while under his invisibility cloak. Harry fell backwards, his glasses askew, clutching the cloak around him. A voice nearby said, "Ouch! Who's there?" Harry hastily checked that the cloak was covering him and lay very still, staring up at the dark outline of the wizard he had hit. He recognized the goatee. It was Karkaroff. Right, so obviously that's Karkaroff sneaking off the Durmstrang ship to examine whatever the champions are up against for the first task. All in all, that means that Krum and Fleur are still absolutely gonna know what they're up against for the first task. The difference is that there's no Harry for Hagrid to show the dragon to, and therefore no Harry to pass along that information to Cedric out of fairness. Which means that Cedric alone does not learn about the dragons until he's reaching into a bag, pulling out a model of a Swedish short snout. And just for like the sake of ease of this experiment, we're going to assume that they all get the same dragons and that the horntail is just not present at all, because in my mind, that's the one that's like added on extra anyway.
I have to admit, that horntail is a right nasty piece of work.
Either way, it's a pretty big setback for old Cedric, made doubly worse by the fact that Cedric is also canonically the first to face the dragon, so no heads up beforehand, and even less to think of a plan while the others take their turns. I mean, that's several bad draws right away, and it might just get worse for old Diggory. This is more speculative, but I find it's pretty relevant. Prior to the tournament, there is a ceremonial weighing of the wands, during which we learn about Cedric's wand. "Ah, now this is one of mine, isn't it?" said Mr. Ollivander. "Yes, I remember it well, containing a single hair from the tail of a particularly fine male unicorn, 12 1/4 inches, ash, pleasantly springy." Unicorn hair and ash. If that sounds familiar, it's because it is. This is the exact same combination of wand, wood, and core as Ron's hand-me-down wand that he is using during his first 2 years at Hogwarts.
My wand!
And it's a unique combination in that we can learn a lot about this specific pairing from the Pottermore archives. The ash wand cleaves to its one true master and ought not be passed on or gifted from the original owner because it will lose power and skill. This tendency is extreme if the core is of unicorn. So if you ever wonder why Ron's so bad at magic in the first year, well...
Wingardium Leviosa.
You're saying it all wrong. Hang in there, sport. You'll get it eventually.
Wingardium Leviosa!
Huh?
But you might be wondering, how is that relevant to Cedric's performance against the dragon? Because obviously he is the original owner of the wand, right? I mean, Ollivander just said that. And that's true, but consider the following. This combination of wand, wood, and core is all about loyalty to its original owner, and yet Ron has received it from none other than his brother, Charlie. Charlie, who I may remind you...
Works with these in Romania.
Stick with me for a second. Charlie has a hyper-loyal wand, but moves to Romania to work with dragons and chooses to hand his own wand down to his younger brother. Meanwhile, there are 3 key wand cores we're familiar with: unicorn hair, phoenix feather, and dragon heartstring. So, our theory is that Charlie abandoned his unicorn and ash wand because he harvested his very own dragon heartstring and made a new wand that's like more capable with dragons. Because, you know, like that's his job. And that's all good and well for Charlie, but it also means that the guy who chose to tangle with dragons on the daily also decided that the exact wand, wood, and core that Cedric has is not great for dragon work. So, sorry again, Cedric. I mean, I know that's pure speculation, but it is an odd coincidence nonetheless. Of course, that said, Cedric doesn't specifically, fight the dragon under the regular circumstances. He actually transfigures a small boulder into a Labrador to distract the dragon because Cedric hates dogs. You heard it here first. He could have turned that rock into anything. Like a toad. Or Umbridge. Cedric, why didn't you turn the rock into Umbridge, huh? Huh? Of course, that's what Cedric does when he has time to plan it out, and even that just lands him in second place. And I have to assume that if the other two are going in prepared, that they have a giant leg up on him. And considering Krum and Fleur are otherwise dealing with exactly the same circumstances, the first task likely scores out with Krum still in first, Fleur coming in second, and Cedric is in last, but is still successful. Cedric doesn't even get the egg. Good luck with the second task. Or I was supposed to think two kids came in from from throughout time and just like messed him up on the first task or something. That'd be weird. That brings us to the unexpected task, right? Now, normally, Harry is under the weight of being a champion and the fear of having to open the Yule Ball and takes forever to ask Cho to the dance. But I can only assume that this go round, there's a lot less pressure and he just asks her a lot sooner and she...
said I'll go.
Oh, good for Harry, going Cho to the ball. I hope they have fun. But then, who does Cedric go with? I know. Now, my personal vote, wait for it, Angelina Johnson, right? Other, like, most capable, popular girl who almost entered the Triwizard Tournament, right? Fred takes a while to ask her, you know, like, Cedric, I think he's on it. But also Fleur could be a neat pick, you know, let me know your own thoughts down below. But moving on, though, that brings us to the real second task. And again, just to recap what happens when Harry and Barty Crouch Jr. are in play, Cedric usually comes in first with 47 points, Krum is in second with 40, and Fleur is in a generous third with 25. I'll say. You know, the more I think about it, I'm really leaning Cedric asks Angelina, because otherwise I'm not sure how Fleur could be at the bottom of the lake for Cedric to save and also participating in the task herself. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Though I'm not sure it made much difference for Fleur, am I right? Whoa! I'm just kidding, that's mean and wholly unnecessary. Get a hold of yourself, me, be nicer, golly. That said, anyway, Fleur's abysmal performance at the lake will be relevant later, so just remember that. But once again, Barty Crouch Jr.'s role is pretty massive in the name of helping Harry, especially for Cedric in particular. The second task, that was when I was most afraid we would fail. I was keeping watch on you, Potter. I knew you hadn't worked out the egg's clue, so I had to give you another hint. You didn't. Cedric gave me the clue. Who told Cedric to open it underwater? I did. I trusted that he would pass the information on to you. Decent people are so easy to manipulate, am I right? Now this one is interesting because as far as we know, neither Krum nor Fleur actually has help figuring out the second task, which then actually makes it really easy to predict what's going to happen to Fleur just right off the cuff because she, wait, why did she fail again? Hermione?
Flan have got past the grandiose.
Love that she goes through the French accent there, you know, like very, very creative way to like kick someone while they're down, you know, Hermione, but to be fair, I feel like this probably played a role a little bit.
You know, I like it when they walk.
Either way, the point is that Harry and Barty Crouch don't affect the outcome of the lake for Fleur at all. She just gets attacked early on and loses hard. Sorry, Fleur. But then there's Cedric. I have to think that if Fleur and Krum figured out the egg on their own, then Cedric would have gotten there eventually as well, and therefore likely come up with the same solution. Or Angelina figures it out for him. That seems pretty likely. But if he has the same solution, I really don't see any reason why he would place any differently, which would be first. No dumb moral fiber getting in his way this time.
Blimey, even when you go wrong, it turns out right.
Yeah, well done, moral fiber.
And the same largely goes for Krum, who solves the egg on his own and does fairly well as a half shark, half man, or possibly a Dooku Waka, which is a real fantastic beast in the world of Harry Potter that is a half man, half shark, and Krum possibly is full video by clicking the card. But either way, just by default, he then comes in second. Which means, under our new rulings, the standings going into the third task are as follows. Krum has a first and a second place finish, Cedric a third and first, and Fleur a second and third. Which means that Krum has a narrow lead heading into the maze ahead of Cedric, and Fleur gets to take a nice refreshing nap while she waits for the timer to go off and enter the maze herself. Meanwhile, Harry and Cho are up in the stands on a double date with Ron and Parvati. Yeah, that's right, because now she would be available to go with Ron to the Yule Ball, and they all go and they have a wonderful time. And like, is anyone else getting more interested in their love lives in the tournament? I mean, I think Hermione probably still went with Krum. Maybe Fred went with Fleur. Oh my God. I think Bill thinks that's weird. But then like George usually marries Angelina, so there's a lot, we're messing up a lot of things here. Anyway, the third task is by far the hardest to figure out because Barty Crouch Jr.'s involvement is typically extremely significant, where he stuns Fleur and is using Krum as a tool to attempt to blockade Cedric so that only Harry can make it through the maze. And he is successful in getting rid of Krum and Fleur this way, and almost Cedric, except Harry intervenes when Krum is attacking him. But while all that's happening, Barty Crouch Jr. is also blasting obstacles out of the way for Harry, making it hard to judge how he would have done without any help. But I still think we can break this down. First of all, Fleur is not winning, sorry, but she has a huge delayed start and was defeated by the Grindylows in the lake, something Harry learned to fight in his third year. And like, not for nothing, but the maze is full of nothing but way more dangerous creatures than that. And I mean, like, yes, true, I guess she handled the dragon, but remember, she had exact knowledge of what she was facing in that situation. So really, it's just down to Krum versus Cedric, which is a lot harder to figure out because on the one hand, Krum does have a lead. He has the head start going in, but on the other hand, Cedric is the only one to canonically solve the maze without any help. And consider this, Cedric, without the assistance of Barty Crouch Jr. blasting things out of his path, still beats Harry to the center of the maze, which feels like it leans Cedric, but we just don't know how Krum would have done. Because unlike Cedric, Krum actually attacked the dragon to get around it, which may be a strategy that would serve you better in the maze since, you know, Cedric and Harry do have to go straight up on the offensive against the Scroots and the Acromantulas. I mean, how many dogs do you think Cedric is willing to kill to get through this maze? Is the question you need to be asking yourself.
What are you doing? That's how I roll.
I think it is a very close race, but there is still one very significant fact that I think will point us to our most likely champion. Here we can look at a totally different stat, which is how the schools have performed in every single Triwizard Tournament to this point, which goes as follows. Out of the 125 times the Triwizard Tournament has been played, Hogwarts has won 63, Beauxbaton has won 62, and Durmstrang has won 0. They've never won. And I know what you're thinking. Like, is it really fair to say that math of all things should cost Krum the tournament here? Well, allow me to direct your attention to Exhibit A, the Quidditch World Cup, where Ireland wins by 10 points after Krum captures the snitch a little too early. Call me crazy, but it seems like some simple arithmetic might land Bulgaria a very different result. I mean, 2 goals, man. 2. Like, have a little more faith in your chasers. Anyway, that said, we believe with no Harry Potter and no Barty Crouch Jr. interfering with the tournament that Cedric Diggory goes on to be the Triwizard Champion.
This is my boy!
And Harry marries Cho. And Ron and Parvati don't work out. Yeah, no, it doesn't last long. Lavender gets jealous, a lot of drama.
1-1.
Don't want to get into it, but Ron actually just still ends up with Hermione, who ends up dumping Krum for being so bad at math. Oh man, could you imagine Krum versus the Sphinx? She's all like, if A equals B and B equals C, what does A equal? Spider? Oh man, okay. Good times. Guys, thank you as always for watching today's video. Don't forget to leave a like on it if you haven't already, and subscribe so you don't miss any future Harry Potter action from us. If you want to see how Krum is actually a Dooku Waka, which is a half man, half shark, you can check out this video right here. I'm not kidding. That is a real thing right there. Please check it out. Otherwise, until next time, remember, ducks go in cups. Ah!